everybody, my name is Tanya and welcome to my Volume 4 discussion of War and Peace. And yes, I finished it. As always, the War and Peace Readalong was organised by Rincey at Rincey Reads and Jenny at Adultish Books. All the links to all the videos that have come so far will be down in the description. So Volume 4 started with the shocks early, and it wasn't very far into Volume 4 that Helene, Pierre's wife, died, and that took me by surprise. There's a line in there that was the best, most subtle way of saying somebody was getting an abortion that I have ever heard. Everyone knew very well that the lovely Countess's illness came from the inconvenience of marrying two husbands at once, and that the Italian's treatment consisted in removing that inconvenience. And I know it's not a funny subject, but that did make me chuckle, and like I said, I think it was a really perfect way of describing it without actually saying it and skirting around it, because everything's so proper and you don't talk about that kind of thing at all. So then we're told that due to despair over Pierre not responding to her letter, she takes an overdose of the medicine that they've given her to bring on miscarriage, and she has died. And that kind of rung really false with me. Nothing that's happened in the past almost 1,000 pages of the book made me think that Helene was the kind of woman who would take her own life. And I'd be interested in hearing your comments regarding this, your thoughts, whether you were surprised by that moment, because like I said, I didn't think that was true to her character at all. It just felt like a way of getting her out of the way. And that's when I really started to worry about Prince Andre and Prince Andre's fate. So in my Volume 3 video, I spoke about my disbelief after Pierre is told that Prince Andre, and Anatole, but Prince Andre has died, and that no, Tolstoy can't have just killed off Prince Andre. He can't have done that. And it wasn't necessarily the fact that he had supposedly died that I was surprised at and saying, no, this can't happen. It was the method in which he had done it. And so we couldn't have Prince Andre die without having confronted Natasha again, either in a positive way or a negative way, but we couldn't just have him die out there anonymously without them having some kind of resolution to what happened in Volume 2. And so it was more to do with the way that it had been done, not the fact that I thought anybody in this book was safe. However, after they reconciled, I could definitely believe that Tolstoy would then kill him off, and that we'd have it as a tragic thing. They had found each other again, they were in love, but then he's taken from her. That I could see happening, and so I was getting worried, thinking, this is the early 1800s. We've been told it's a stomach injury. He had shattered hip bones removed. The chances of him surviving that were not good. For all that I was excited about the fact that he and Natasha had reconciled, and that was lovely, I was worried. So I read on with great foreboding, going, I don't like where this is going. I'm afraid this is inevitably going to end up where I think it's going to end up, and I'm not really happy about that. But so I was so sad and I was so disappointed when Prince Andre died, because from the start I've preferred him over Pierre. I know he was a bit of a joke to his wife Elizaveta at the start, but I don't know, something about him, I've liked him all along better than Pierre. And of course Pierre was running around like a complete idiot in Volume 3 and not endearing himself to me at all. He was worth laughing at, but not husband material. So I was disappointed to realise that Natasha was going to end up with Pierre. I actually had the wicked thought at one point, cue a one-legged Anatole to come in and whisk her away and then run off into the sunset. But no, that didn't happen. In fact, we didn't hear about Anatole at all, so I can only assume that he did actually die, that report was correct, at least in one case, that Anatole died from his injuries. And so moving on to the epilogue, I had heard that it was difficult, and of course there was Kenneth's tweet talking about how it got very philosophical. So when we got to the end of Volume 4, I was wondering whether we were going to return to the characters at all, or whether it was just going to be all heavy philosophy in the epilogue. And at the end of Volume 4, we're leaving things at a point where it's obvious that Natasha and Pierre are going to get married at some point in time, after an appropriate length of time has passed, but that they're going to be the ending. But it wasn't resolved, so I was a little bit disappointed, thinking that we weren't going to get back to the characters and see that, and also see what happened with the whole Nikolai Marie thing. But a little while into the first half of the epilogue, we did get back to them, and it was kind of, oh yes, Pierre and Natasha are married, and Nikolai and Marie are married, so I was really pleased about that, because I wanted Marie to be happy after everything she went through with her father. And so we get these kind of domestic-y scenes of them all in this big house, and they've all got kids, and la la la, it's all great. It was really sad, actually, the lines where they're talking about Sonia, and they're talking about the fact that she is a sterile flower, and that, oh, she's fine, she doesn't need to get married, she's just by herself. And I thought that was really sad. And so it all seemed like this kind of really random, just a capturing of what life was like for them after the war, and this is what's happening now. And then in part 2 we get back to the really heavy philosophy part again, and we never actually get back to the characters. And I thought that was really interesting in that I don't think where we left them in the epilogue was a better place at all than we left them at the end of volume 4. It was just a random ending as that was. And I felt that an epic of this size deserved a bigger finish than that. It just kind of fizzled out for the characters. We've got this little vignette, this little snapshot of what things were like after the war, but we didn't get that kind of big ending. And I suppose that's life too. This was something that happened in Russia, obviously, and this was what it was, and their lives had to be picked up afterwards. But for something that's this size, I thought it really should end with a bang. But instead, and obviously Tolstoy decided that that was the most important thing to him, but instead we get his kind of rambly philosophy on war and power and cause, and it is hard work. It was hard work. And obviously that's something that he felt was more important than the characters. I just kind of wanted a little bit more from the ending than he was able to give. But all in all, I really enjoyed War and Peace. There were hard parts. There were definitely hard parts. The war was difficult to get into, and the philosophy at the end, of course, was quite difficult to get through. But I got really invested in the characters, really enjoyed following their story and seeing what was going to happen next. Things maybe didn't end up exactly where I was hoping they were going to, but I guess that's the reality of life, and particularly of war, that the people that you love aren't necessarily going to come home. So I'm glad that they got their reunion after everything that happened, but I am kind of disappointed that Natasha ended up with Pierre. But so thank you once again to Rincey and to Jenny for organising the War and Peace read-along. It was great to have the impetus to pick this up. As I said, I had read Anna Karenina a few years ago now and really enjoyed that, but I hadn't got around to this one yet, and I don't know that I would have got to it anytime soon, just left to myself. I definitely wanted to at some point in time, but it wasn't anything that was high on any priority list. So it's been really great to read this as a group and to watch everybody's progress and their thoughts happening on Twitter. That's been fantastic. Seeing people reacting to the same parts that you've had and with the same reactions, you know, and knowing that people are struggling in the same parts or laughing at the same parts, really encouraging to get something through something of this size. So it was a great process and I really enjoyed it. Congratulations to everybody who's finished. I'm definitely feeling a great sense of accomplishment getting through a book of this size. Not that I have an aversion to big books. In fact, some of my favourites are big books, but this one is hefty and it's not just all smooth reading, so definitely a great sense of accomplishment achieved in ticking off another great Russian classic. As always, thank you all for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!